Hey, Hatou, so good to speak with you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. It's nice to speak with you too.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so let's jump right in. You were in what was it, the May cohort of FYFC this year? I think
Yeah,
so. You started
May,
in the summer.
summer,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so talk to us a bit about what was your life and your career like before you joined FYFC?
So life before FYFC, I might get the acronyms wrong.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah, I was working like 2.5, almost 3 years in government. And then the congressman retired, so we all
Mhm.
left. And I just wanted to really have a break
Yeah.
before I figured out what I wanted to do next. And I was really stuck. I knew I wasn't happy with my previous experience. I would complain all the time that I didn't like my job. I would be at my job looking at the clock, counting down to
Mm.
when it'd be 5 p.m. I was just very unhappy to be there, didn't feel motivated to stay. I feel like I didn't really grow.
Mhm.
And I think I was kind of scarred from that. So moving forward, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I also felt, even though I am really young and I just graduated like 4 years ago, I kind of felt like I was behind because I looked at my
Mm.
peers who were in graduate school or who were in other careers, and I felt they were making it. And the
Mhm.
community kind of praised those people who were making it. And I just felt very low. I felt like I wasn't making it at my previous job, even though I had the name associated with, I guess, somebody who makes it working in government, but I didn't feel that. So I knew it wasn't
Mhm.
enough to just have a career that people find valuable, because at a certain point I didn't find value in it every day.
Mhm.
It wasn't like the worst thing terrible, but I wasn't happy. So I
Mhm.
was stuck. I didn't know what I wanted to do next. And then my sister actually, I think, was on one of your clubhouse rooms and was like,
Mm.
you should do a course with Dr. 𝗃𝗲. She's having like a coaching. She's like, you really express to me that you don't know what you want to do in the future and that you're stuck. I think you should do this. And that's when I started doing
Mhm.
more research, and I signed up for a call, and yeah, here we are.
I didn't know that about your sister being on Clubhouse.
Yeah, yeah, she kind of like put me on to you. Yeah, my sister.
Well, thanks, sister.
Yeah.
Um, but so I'm hearing that for you pre-FRFC, you were feeling really stuck, unhappy, and you were in a role that outside eyes could look in and thought, okay, because it's in government, you've made it. But for you internally, when you compared yourself to your peers, when you looked around you, and when you even thought of the work you were doing, you felt behind and you didn't find value in the work that you were doing. So it was making you feel even more unhappy in that role.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay. So now, FYFC is, and the program is, application only. So you got on the call, and usually, when we get on the call, we're trying to figure out if it's a right fit for both of us. And I'm curious to know, what are some things, maybe it was just one thing that made you kind of decide to join the program, after going through the application process? And, you said you did some research. What convinced you to go forward with the program?
I think hopping on the call with you, I just felt very reassured that I wasn't alone. Like you mentioned, you're not alone of what you're talking about. Tons of people go through this. Um, so I felt okay, kind of reassured. And you mentioned it was a group effort. And at first I thought, oh, I was kind of hoping for more one-on-one. Maybe I would get more out of it. But then when I actually got into it, I was like, wow, the group thing is actually valuable, because I'm hearing from people who are in, even though we're in different careers or different points in our lives, I'm hearing from people who are going through similar issues. Like I really thought I was like a lone wolf going through this. Like it's really
Mhm.
common, and I didn't really know that. I just thought I'm just a problem. Um, so that was reassuring when you talked about that. And also you discussed the steps that it'll take to get there. So the different modules.
Mhm.
You kind of briefly went through shifting your mindset and then finding out what your values are, and then your skills, your interests. So I was like, okay, wow, it's very thorough. And it's not just like you're just talking to us and that's it. We're actually working through it, even though
Mhm.
like working in the workbook, which sometimes I delayed. But it was helpful, and I'm still going through it now. So just, I think, walking through like what it entailed and knowing that I wasn't alone and there was a support also, but knowing it was very thorough and detailed and you really put your time and energy into this and you were committed to making sure that we saw something out of it. That really drew me to just consider it and sign up.
That's amazing. And I can't tell you how many women I speak with, and they, like, I'd say 80% of the women say the same thing. I wish it was one-on-one. And then I got in there and I love the group. And I just love to hear you all say that, because like what you said, and I like to emphasize on the call, it's so easy to feel like you're alone in this before you get help. And so I like to really show you all that you're not alone, because like you said, these women are in different stages of their career, in different industries, but there's still this like synergy in terms of what you all are feeling and experiencing. And it's always great to then hear from you when you say the group was something that you enjoyed in the program. So that being said, I'm also then curious, is there a particular activity or session or something that we did in the program that you found particularly helpful?
I think for me, I think the first module, the mindset.
The mindsets?
Yeah, that was key for me. Like, I feel like my mind was like, wow, like it really exploded doing that, because I really learned a lot of things that I internalized. I realized that I care a lot about what other people think of me, and I never really considered that, but I was like, I do care a lot about that in terms of career. So I wanted to have this esteemed career that people would see me as this highly intelligent, capable person. And I also realized that fear was a big thing. The low self-efficacy really related to me. So just walking through that, and coming up with the affirmations, because I'm somebody who never really believed in like vocalizing that, even though I knew I had a lot of negative thoughts. I just didn't know how to combat those, and it's not easy, and I'm still working through those. It's like an active everyday thing. And just instead of focusing on, well, what if this happens, flipping that and says, well, what if something great happens, just really trying to structure the mind, I thought was really powerful, because you can't really go forward unless you're fixing your mind and you're feeding your brain things. And I didn't really consider that. When you said you have to feed your brain what you want, you have to feed your brain constantly on the positives. And I just thought, wow, like I've spent so long just feeding my brain negative thoughts. And that's why sometimes I am in the position that I'm in, because I'm not actively trying to combat that. And it's not easy. It's really, really hard. It's difficult. It's something that you have to try to do like every single day. Like you have a negative thought, you have to try to combat it. It's really, really hard. But I'm still working on it. Like I said, it's not easy, but that was really impactful. And I think what I thought was also really impactful was the skills interest, doing the inventory and figuring out what my zone of genius interest areas were. And just the fact that you said that your interest is something that you're naturally drawn to. Like you can't change what your innate ability is, or the interest that you have. Like that's something that you can't change. Like you can't change what lights you up, what makes you motivated, or just what gives you that spark. But you don't have to be good at those things. And I never really thought of it like that. Like I always correlated, I always thought of interest as something that I had to be good at, like right out the gate. Like I have to be 100% at it, or else what's the point? Am I even interested in it? But realizing that I don't have to be good at it, that you can work at improving your ability to do something because you have that interest, and that interest, it's what's going to keep you going. I thought was really helpful. And I still think about it to this day when I'm researching careers, and I'm like, it seems interesting, but I don't know if I'd be good at it. I think, well, Dr. 𝗃𝗲 says you don't have to be good at what you're interested in. You have enough interest in it, you should explore that. So I'm really learning to not shut off things that I thought weren't for me. Because usually I'm like, well, I didn't study this, or this is not what I thought of myself doing 10 years ago. So I shouldn't even consider it. Now I'm actively learning, well, I'm interested in it. I should pursue it. I should talk to people in this industry and ask them questions. And that's something that I've been doing, the informational interviews. So that's been helpful to get different opinions and just thoughts on interests that I probably wouldn't have considered, because I thought, well, I have no experience in it and I don't think I'd be good at it. So why even pursue it?
Yeah, I love that so much. Just hearing you say how you had come into this program with this mindset of, I have to be good at something to do it or to be able to pursue it. But going through and learning that our interests are those things that just spark us up, and interest doesn't mean being good at it, because we can develop skills, right? Which is when we talk about good at something, we can develop that later. And so now it sounds like you're able to approach, as you're doing your job search, approach it with this open mind of, okay, if I'm interested, let me look a bit more, knowing fully well that I can develop the skills if I need to later on. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's correct.
What is it like for you to approach the job search with that mindset and that approach?
So I think at kind of a double-edged sword a little bit, because while I am more hopeful in the types of careers that I'm looking at, you still have that fear that creeps in, right? So you read the job description and you're like, wow, like you have to be top one to get this role. Or there are certain jobs where you have to take a boot camp course to be more competitive, or you need to have like a portfolio, or you need to have like a little bit of some experience doing the work in order to get the role. Or you need to have a master's to get a leadership role higher up in the role. So when I see that, I'm like, okay, I don't have all of these, but I'm still interested in it. And then it's like, okay, what is it going to take for me to get there? So it's still trying to piece everything together, but knowing that no matter what, I'm still going to have to learn. Like there's going to be a learning curve no matter what. But then it's kind of made me more comfortable kind of telling myself no to jobs that I know I wouldn't be happy at, right? So jobs that sound similar to my previous job, I'm like, you know what? I already said what I valued, right? I already have my non-negotiable values. I already have what I'm interested in, what were the, what did you call it? Like the
high power skills?
No, like in the beginning, certain parts of the job you didn't like. I'm trying to.
The diminishes, your career diminishes.
So I'm like, I already know what the diminishes were, and I listed those out. So I'll read the job description. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this. It doesn't align with what I want. And even though it's something that I could easily do, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that I'm interested in anymore. So it's like the inverse also. Something that I feel like I might be good at because I have previous experience in it, but realizing it's not really going to make me satisfied. So I'll just pass on it. So I've been more comfortable saying no to those things, even though it might get me something quicker, or I just might feel relieved quicker. But once I'm in it, I know I'll regret it.
Yeah. So it's like you have that clarity to be able to know when to say no. And as I'm hearing you say, even though it might satisfy you in the short term, that if you stay long term, you'll be unhappy again. And I think a lot of people underestimate just the power of being able to look at something and say, you know what, no, this is not for me. Like the no is just as strong as the yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with us. Now, I'm curious, for the woman who's watching, who is thinking about joining FYFC, but she's not sure yet, she's still like right on the fence, what would you say to her?
I would say just do it, because even if you're on the fence, I think that's like the best person for the course, because you're still going through whatever you have in your mind, but I feel like it's best to vocalize it, right? Because you can talk to yourself like I've done, you can journal, you can talk to friends and family, and while they can help you in some respects, I think you need somebody outside to really guide you with the proper work, and it's a lot of self-reflection. So while you're on the fence, you can talk about those things. Why are you on the fence? Like so I think it'd still be really helpful to work through it with other people, and also with somebody like you whose job is to coach anyone who's struggling and trying to pivot. I think it'd be a great way to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for your time, Hatou. It was absolutely a pleasure speaking with you today.
Same here.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
If you're tired of feeling stuck, unhappy, and unfulfilled in a career that feels like it's sucking the life out of you, but you're not sure how to make your transition or what you would do next, I invite you to apply to find your fulfilling career. FYFC is an exclusive, intimate group coaching program for the woman who is unhappy at work and ready to find a career that allows her to live on purpose and thrive in her zone of genius. If that sounds like you, visit findyourfulfillingcareer.com to submit your application today.